In art, there are two kinds of inspiration. First of all, is your knowledge about the art history that counts a lot in what you do, because everything comes from something. At the same time, there was the thing that you live through in your life, your own country, etc., and so many other things. Is important, this kind of roots that you have with your life or reality, because that gives honesty what you do. But the art comes from many sources that you don't know. You see perhaps a painting, and 30 years later you do something that reminds of that painting, but has been transformed for so many other things. And at the end, it's an original work. The important thing is that you have to do the same but in a different way. You see, because that's the story of painting, is the people who did the same thing with a different way. Everybody did a horse, but the horse is the same horse, but it was painted hundreds and thousands of times different, starting with the cave people. It has been always the same horse and different expression.
Well, Botero's inspiration in the history of art come from the one side extremely concentrated on Italian Renaissance. And he spent a lot of time in the early 50s in northern Italy, and he discovered Piero della Francesca, Paolo Uccello. And what he was fascinated by is their use of form and volume and the integration of perspective in very, very simple forms. And he has adapted this and sort of monumentalizes it or changes it into his own world of form. I actually say world of form very specifically because it is a world that he makes us enter, a world of proportions set against each other and proportions that for us are not what we expect, let's put it that way. He changes the proportions of the real world, and this is what makes his painting so strange somehow.
Many people say, oh, Botero, the man who painted the fat women. But that is not the thing, I paint fruit, I paint an animal, I paint a man or a woman, everything making emphasis on the volume, because the volume is a very important element in painting that it has been forgotten. Now everything is flat. But in the moment of greatest art, volume was always present. You see, and then there is the force, the sensuality of the volumes. All this is, for me, has been very attractive all my life. When you are painting and then you are enjoying doing that form, that's the fullness of these forms, the plenitude of the colors, then you are having such a fun, such pleasure to doing this that you keep going.
The voluminity of his figures is, of course, a criteria on which you recognize a Botero immediately. It's sort of his brand.
Style is the most important thing because, the subject matter more or less is the same, It's the way it's painted. Like we were saying before, the horses, the cave paintings are being the same horse being painted. The Picasso horse of Guernica is different of the Caravaggio horse. This important thing is to be able to have a conviction that mark whatever you do in a way that you can recognize.
well, in this exhibition we show an overview of his work, starting with the late 50s and ending up with very recent paintings as the Abu-Ghraib series of 2004 and 5. And it is interesting to see how in his early work he's influenced or interested by the American abstract expressionism from the late 50s, and he uses heavy brush strokes and dark colors, and then he gets back to his very clear surfaces, very detailed and precise forms, and always his figures, and this is very special for him, are concentrated in themselves. Even if you have a group, each one of them will be alone for themselves. They're sort of anonymous. They're in a dialogue with themselves and not with you or with the other person on the painting. They're almost like still lifes.
Then I always say that to paint, even if Christ, I paint as it was a still life. You know, I caress the forms. You always, even if you paint the dictator, at the end you are caressing the face of the dictator because it's a still life. You see. In the beginning, perhaps in the sketch you do first, you can show some passion or hate or whatever to do this. But then when the actual painting is a caress, you know, then you finally caress these dictators. It's amazing, but that's the way it is, because it's still life. If you want to show and what you showed is in the sketch, but then in the painting, this will be a contradiction. You know? At the end, it's a painting, and the bigger responsibility when you paint this with painting, at the end, has to be a good painting more than anything else. That's why at the end you caress everything.